What is up, guys? NinjaDick333. This is going to be an interesting looking match. We are back with another round of the Japan Championships, which is basically their nationals. We are on, I believe, one of the top 16 games. I just recorded a top 16 game, so I'm assuming this is top 8, but I have not been able to confirm it at this point. They didn't put it on screen yet. So looks like we do have the Inteleon Urshifu here on the right side versus some sort of Lost Box on the left. This is a very favored match for Inteleon. The Inteleon deck does put its own energy back into its hand to use its attack, and then can Cheryl, healing a ton of damage off of their 300 plus HP Pokemon. It can also use the Rapid Strike Urshifu in order to knock out two of the opponent's single prizers at the same time. Does 120 to your opponent's Pokemon with the G-Max Rapid Flow. It also has Radiant Alakazam, as well as the ability on the Inteleon VMAX, which does allow you to put 2 damage counters on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. And the Alakazam does allow you to move up to 2 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another, and has that Medicham that says for a double colorless it does 2 damage counters to one of your opponent's Pokemon. If it were to knock out that Pokemon due to that damage, you do get to take an extra turn, skipping your opponent's turn completely. So pretty much everything in this deck completely walls Lost Box. The only thing that the Lost Box deck can really do is just put down Manaphy and pray. That was a really hot start from the Inteleon player as well. Was able to get plenty of Pokemon out, including that Remoraid. The Remoraid being very important just because of the fact that it can evolve into the Octillery to allow you to search for any Rapid Strike card every turn. So if you do get maybe Ionode or something, you can still search your deck for a Rapid Strike energy so that you can attack with the Inteleon turn after turn. If you're missing an evolution, you could always search that, because all of the evolutions, all of the Pokemon pretty much in the deck are Rapid Strike, except for the double Drapion, but that's only in there for Mew. And I guess you could use it in the mirror because it also counts Rapid and Single Strike Pokemon as well, which is really interesting. It looks like this is the Zamazenta version. I don't really see the Zamazenta version a lot. I did peek at the junior division finals. They don't really have like a junior and senior division. They have like some sort of like youth division, and then just regular masters. I did almost record for that, but both players just attached an energy and pass, and I said I'm not recording this. But one of those players was also in the finals with the Zamazenta version. So Zamazenta is really cool because if your opponent took a knockout last turn, it almost doubles the damage it does and does 220 instead. It does like normally base 100 or base 120, something like that, but then it gets boost to 220 if your opponent has taken a knockout in the last turn, which is more than likely since all of your opponent have like all of your Pokemon basically have 80 and less HP. I think the beefiest thing in the deck is probably the Zamazenta and the Radiant Greninja at like 130-ish each. Looks like we are going to be using a couple of concealed cards. Looks like we do get a Zinnia into the discard pile here. That it does seem to be a card that some people are playing over in Japan. I don't really like Zinnia as a card that much. You could discard 2 cards and then draw a card for each one of your opponent's Pokemon in play. It's not a bad card by any means, but it's very reliant on your opponent. The last card that I liked playing that was very reliant on your opponent like that was just the regular Colress. It would say shuffle draw equal to the amount of Pokemon that are on both players' benches combined. And not too long after it was printed, maybe a year or so, they printed Skyfield, so everybody had a bench of 8. So you would draw a Colress for 16, one of my favorite cards in Expanded. But, you know, sometimes it's your first supporter of the game and you Colress for 1 and just hope that it's something good. So that Squawkabilly was really good on the player on the right, too. That when you, on your first turn, you can discard your hand and draw 6. So Unfortunate you can only use it once during the entire game and only on your first turn, but looks like he did draw quite a bit of good stuff to go with it. He's got like one of every Pokemon he wants in play. So we are going to be able to get our Manaphy down. It's the bare minimum we needed this turn. Preferably would have gotten a Cramorant attack as well. We do have 4 cards in the Lost Zone. Just would have needed one more switch card. We already used our Jet Energy to force a Comfey active and retreat, I believe. But unfortunately did not quite get there to a Cramorant. Some of these Lost Box decks really do only play one Cramorant. I do prefer the 2, even though you usually only use 1 in a game and you can always like Clara it back or Super Rod. Just the fact that you can almost guarantee finding it turn 1 by playing 2 makes it feel a lot better. So it looks like we are going to attach a Rapid Strike Energy just to retreat. We do not have the Stadium yet. The Stadium does say Rapid Strike Pokemon have free retreat. If we were able to evolve into the Octillery, we would have been able to search any Rapid Strike card. So we would have been able to search for the Stadium. So that would have been 2 different outs, either drawing into the Stadium or drawing into the Octillery, or a way to get the Octillery. Would have been really great. But unfortunately, it looks like at this point, the player on the right's hand is pretty dead. But again, got exactly what they needed, so just retreated into the Urshifu VMAX, was able to attack with its first attack, which I believe it does 30 plus 90 if it came into the active that turn, or no, it's more than that. 30 plus 120 if it came into the active, so it does 150. So just taking the easy KO on that Comfey there. You'll love to see it. So we are using yet another Colress's Experiment. Looks like we do have one of the Zamazentas in the Lost Zone. Usually it probably only plays 1, I would assume, most of the time. A lot of these Lost Box decks do only play a lot of 1-of attackers at times. The only things you really play multiple copies of is you usually play 2 Sableye, and you'll play the 4 Comfey. But usually a lot of the other Pokemon are just 1-ofs. Looks like we are going to go for the Escape Rope after our first flower selecting here. We do have 2 damage counters on 2 different Pokemon of ours. That is because that Inteleon on this previous turn did discard a Water Energy to use that ability. Again, does 2 damage counters to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. And that is a very efficient way, combined with that Radiant Alakazam, to remove the Manaphy from play. So that'll be really great, getting the Manaphy out of play and establishing Gmax Rapid Flow at the same time. You can end up going for a 3 prize turn potentially, and this really goes to show you exactly how one-sided this matchup is. If there is one matchup that Inteleon Urshifu excels at, it is the Lost Box matchup, and Lost Box being one of the biggest threats in this format currently. I do think that this is actually a contender for NAIC. You definitely need that double Drapion for Mew. And honestly, this deck is one of my top picks for NAIC right now, just because I kind of want to play something fun and not stress about it. And this honestly feels like something that's kind of fun. Don't really expect to be going against a lot of Lugia. So we are going to use our V-Star power with the Forest Seal Stone we've attached to the Medicham V. We're going to be able to search our deck for any 1 card. It's like Octillery, but better. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually searched for the Octillery, but no, looks like we got the Stadium card. I'm pretty sure that's what we would have searched for. Maybe we did prize an Octillery or 2 Octilleries. Would not be too surprising. You should be playing... Oh no, he has it in hand. So still going to be able to get another card. Maybe we're going to go for that Rapid Strike Energy, and that would be why we searched for the Stadium with the Forest Seal Stone, because then we can still use the Octillery to get the other card we need, the Energy card. We can attach it to our Inteleon and be able to attack. But nope, we're going for the Medicham play. This is absolutely huge. So because we have the Stadium, we are able to retreat here. We're going to retreat into the Medicham, and we're going to be able to use its attack to put 2 damage counters on the onto the Manaphy, and then take an extra turn. So here we go. We are now going to be able to use Gmax Rapid Flow this turn to take 2 prize cards, and we'll end up going down to 2 prize cards remaining. So going to be using our ability here to put more damage counters into play. We now have 5 damage counters on the Comfey as well as 2 on another one. You can use the Radiant Alakazam to knock out the Comfey, and then use G-Max Rapid Flow to knock out the second Comfey as well as the Cramorant. And you would actually... no, the Cramorant doesn't resist fighting. If it did resist fighting, you wouldn't be able to do that. But that would only leave the opponent with 1 Pokemon in play, the Radiant Greninja, and you would be at 1 prize card remaining. You would have been able to take effectively 4 prize cards in 1 turn. Or 5 prize cards in 2 turns that you took in a row. So, yep, moving those damage counters over. And again, you can just see how fisted Lost Box is by this deck. My lord. And yeah, we just go for the scoop there, not even giving the opponent the satisfaction of being able to go for the G-Max Rapid Flow. Had the energy to do it already in play, and that's exactly how this deck wants to operate. We saw in a previous round, we've actually seen this deck on stream a couple of times, but we did see it against a Mew deck where it was able to come out on top exclusively because of attacking with Drapion, the power of Drapion, and being able to bring it back into play with Clara, because the Mew decks only usually play 1 Lost City. I think if you're going to NAIC and you want to play Mew, I think you should be playing 2 Lost City if you expect this deck, but I don't think you should expect this deck in all honesty. You can still beat it without that, but... again, this deck has a couple of decent matchups there, and that is Lost Box and Mew. The only but you could always just start Urshifu against Mew, and then you lose. So, Urshifu is Psychic weak. We see our 2 players are doing their pile stacks, making sure they have their decks perfectly sorted in a specific order before they go ahead and shuffle, which is annoying. I won't shoot you in the kneecap for it, but Azul might. Have I run that joke into the ground yet? I think I have. I don't think I've said it that much, but I think I just said it 2 videos in a row. And I'm already sick of my own jokes, so. Alright, so. I like those Oinkologne sleeves. I know everybody's always on about Bidoof. They think Bidoof is like the god of Pokemon, and he's so cute and everything. I'm more of a Lechonk man myself. He brings home the bacon, if you know what I mean. He apparently smells good, too. Immediately going for the first play of the game, being the Hisuian Heavy Ball. Going to be able to identify all 6 of those prize cards before we've been able to search the deck or even use a flower selecting. That's probably the most powerful thing that you can do in Lost Box, is play Heavy Ball on turn 1 before being able to do anything else. Now, we're not going to be afraid of Lost Zoning too many of one type of energy. We already know there's 2 Metal Energy that are in the Lost Zone. He's like, hey, you know what? This Zamazenta, probably not going to do too much if I do have 2 Metal Energy in the prizes, as well as 1 in the discard pile from this Radiant Greninja. You can always Super Rod him back in, but, you know, you got to pull those cards off of the prize cards first. The Zamazenta also does not hit anything for weakness here on the right player's side. It does not feel like it does quite enough, especially since your opponent is able to take multi-prize turns and take prizes without attacking by using Radiant Greninja and the Inteleon's ability. So just trying to stack as much into the Lost Zone as possible here. Unfortunately, only gets 2, but that's about average for turn 1. Sometimes you can get 4 in there if you go first and can't play a supporter. You really do rely on those Chorus's experiments to get the good stuff in there. So we are going to be able to go for a research, dump a big hand, and find the Battle VIP Pass. We're going to go for 2 Inteleon Vs. We are going to be still looking for an Urshifu double Battle VIP Pass. Oh man, this is crazy. This deck also does play Irida. You can use Irida to search for an Inteleon or a Remoraid or an Octillery along with an item card. So if you did have it turn 1 going second, you could always Irida for your Battle VIP Pass. It's a pretty good play. So here comes a second Remoraid. I'm assuming that this player knows that his first Remoraid is going to be knocked out, and it is very important to have an Octillery in rotation here. to be able to help you with your consistency. So we're just going to feed that first one. Or no. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I forgot. The Rapid Strike Urshifu V, the basic, does have like a hit and run style attack. It does 30 and puts itself back to the bench. So retreats for free with the stadium, goes into the Urshifu, hits for 30, and then moves to the bench, feeding that Octillery. We're going to assume that that is going to be knocked out by a Cramorant this turn, more than likely. So we would like to see a Remoraid go down instead of any of our V Pokemon taking a hit. Again, we do play Cheryl, but if we were to get hit on that Urshifu, in order to play Cheryl, we would have to discard that energy, and you don't like to see that. You want to usually use your Cheryls exclusively on the Inteleons if you can, because they always have the energy go back to their hand. And that is a really good way to conserve the energy. This deck is super reliant on the Rapid Strike energies, and sometimes you can prize multiple of them. So you can always attack with the Inteleon, the Rapid Strike energy goes back to your hand, then you attach it to the Urshifu and G-Max Rapid Flow. So we do get the switch card. That will heal that 30 damage off of there. Very important. We might have actually saved the switch card for later, but that one attack did force it that way. It goes for the escape rope. We're just going to switch which Remoraid is going to get knocked out this turn, funnily enough. I do like the hollow pattern that is on these Remoraids. They were just regular commons, I believe, for us. We don't have any sort of hollow Remoraid at this time, unless it's like just the regular reverse hollow. Looks like we do get our Mirage Gate off. We were able to get 7 cards in the Lost Zone. We Mirage Gate attach for turn, so we have multiple water energies on our Greninja, and we are able to use Moonlight Shuriken, knocking out not just the first Remoraid, but the second one as well. So this is going to cripple the opponent's setup here right now. It's going to be very rough without a Remoraid to be able to get every card we need every turn. Even if we are dead drawing without a supporter, we could always use it to grab a Karina's Focus. So by knocking that out, this player on the left knows that that is their out to win this game. They really need to knock out those Remoraids before they become Octilleries. Now we're going to be looking for maybe a Super Rod or a Clara here on the right side in order to get those back. And until then, we might not really have that much of a setup. And even if we do get them back, it's going to take those resources to get them. So, Chorus's Experiment, still not looking too good for this player on the left. The turn basically did just get passed right back to him, only getting 30 damage on his Greninja, which he doesn't mind that but damage being there too much. The only thing he minds is if that damage gets moved because of a Radiant Alakazam, but that is not in play yet, so he doesn't have to quite worry about that right now. Especially with the opponent's hand dead drawing as poorly as it is. Also, cool thing to see is they do have the Break Block energy, which is one of my favorite kinds of energies. We never got them over here. The Break Block had the same just regular X and Y energies that we had from XY base set. I really wish that we did get those because the energy symbol on those are absolutely huge, and it says break behind it in the background. You can barely see it, and it's really nice, but just goes for the attack with the Cramorant, and immediately the Rapid Strike Urshifu gets an additional energy put on it, the water energy, so it is able to attack for 150, so is able to take a prize. So this player on the left still ahead 1 prize because of the double Remoraid knockout. But if we are able to just see an evolution to the VMAX, we could see a G-Max Rapid Flow knocking out 2 Comfeys at the same time, or a Comfey and the Radiant Greninja, because it is at 110 HP remaining here as well, or 120 HP remaining, which is still enough. It does 120 to 2 Pokemon. These guys do have plenty of time to play. They still have 55 minutes left because this is, I do believe, Top Cut. It doesn't really say it there on the left, but I'm going to assume that this is... I'm going to assume, what was it, top 16, top 8, top 4 finals? Yeah, that would make sense. This has got to be top 8. So going for another Mirage Gate to the Greninja is going to use Moonlight Shuriken a second time, which does knock out the Rapid Strike Inteleon V, being able to take 2 prize cards, and stacks a whole bunch of damage counters on the Medicham, which is one of the bigger threats on the board here. Oh, I guess everything's really a bigger threat. Moves the damage counter off of that Inteleon, unfortunately, off of that Greninja, unfortunately just has to hit for the 150 attack again, and it looks like we do see a scoop here because he is still bricking. That was actually pretty one-sided for the lost box, so that is, again, how decks can sometimes lose, is just by not being consistent. So even if you have such a landslide good matchup such as this, you can still just lose due to the fact that your deck just kind of poops out on you. So we're going to shuffle up. We're going to go into a game 3. The Inteleon deck will be favored. It is going to be able to go first. We are going to really want to see maybe a Cramorant start here. Or not necessarily start, but we don't need it in the active spot. We flip our active over, but we definitely want to get 4 cards in the lost zone on our first turn as the player on the left in order to hit into maybe an Inteleon or an Urshifu if we can somehow manage to do that. This player on the right will only have 1 turn to be able to find multiple Remoraid as well as the Stadium to potentially retreat into one. There's no way that we would get Mirage Gate on the first turn. I think that that's asking way too much. You can only use 4 Comfey in 1 turn and not have a supporter. So that is definitely 4 cards in the lost zone. Or no, you would get 4 Comfey plus 1 Chorus's Experiment. So that would be 6 cards in the lost zone. Yeah, so he can get 6 cards in the lost zone at most. I guess if he has Lost Vacuum, he could get there. So there is a world where he can Mirage Gate turn 1 to attack with Radiant Greninja, but it is asking for a lot. They are still shuffling up. Looks like we do have the Kyogre start. That is what we started on the previous game. It wasn't really usable. It's the late game attacker. Oh, it looks like we prized Cramorant and Radiant Greninja. That is not good for the player on the left. I think we prized a Remoraid here on the right as well. We're probably only playing 2. I would not expect to be playing 3. We do start the Squawkabilly. Oh yeah, it looks like we also prized the Radiant Alakazam and one of our Inteleons. Yeah, this is looking like worse prizes for the player on the right than the player on the left, in all honesty. But you'd really like to see that Cramorant. So hopefully he is playing 2 and still is able to find one. Although I myself am really rooting for the Inteleon Urshifu deck. Looks like we get a Rapid Strike Energy onto the Urshifu. We're going to use Squawkabilly's ability, say that 5 times fast, to discard the hand and draw an additional 6 cards. We are searching through our deck now with what I'm hoping is the Battle VIP Pass. Looks like we are eyeing up 2 Pokemon, so yes, it looks like it is. Now that we go back, we have 2 Inteleon in play. We're going to be able to Nest Ball as well, get an entire full bench. This will probably be the second Remoraid? What else would we want? We know that at this point, we definitely know that the Radiant Alakazam is prized, so looks like we're going to go for the Medicham. We're going to be racing to try to get that off. We could always get Medicham off multiple times in a game. Unfortunately, you can only use Medicham's attack every other turn, so if you do gain an extra turn with the attack, you can't use it that next turn. But you can use it multiple times in a game, so you just have to have your Medicham evolve, stay alive one of your opponent's turns in order to be able to use it a second time. It's real easy to knock out those Comfeys in combination with the Radiant Alakazam. Radiant Alakazam is one of the lower prize cards, so by the time he takes his second prize cards, he will more than likely have that available to him in his hand to put back down onto the bench. The Squawkabilly is a little bit of a liability. Was able to use the ability though, so starting it is not the worst thing in the world. It's a lot better than back in the day when we would have a Shaman. If you started Shaman, it always felt really bad because you can't use its ability unless you bench it. A lot like Luminion and Tapu Lele and Jirachi EX, all from back in the day. But that Squawkabilly, you can use it at any point during that first turn. So if you do start it, you can still use that ability. So in some ways, it is a little better than some of those previous Pokemon. But only in that way. I think I would trade for being able to use it every turn in order to not get the ability if I start it, you know? I think that's an easy trade to make. So we do get 2 Comfey onto the bench here and immediately go into the Colress's experiment. We get Battle VIP Pass. But are we going to have the switching cards in order to be able to get those Comfeys in the active spot? We do get double Battle VIP Pass off of this. So we're definitely going to be Lost Zoning 1. We don't need to be using both of those. We could go for another... It looks like another Comfey as well as the Manaphy. You have to get the Manaphy. It is required in this matchup. We could go for the Cramorant instead. We could hit that Squawkabilly for a big 110. That is a 2-shot. It would be left with, I think, 80 HP remaining. I think it has 190. We are going to attach a Water to the Comfey and pass. We have not used any Comfey this turn. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. That is not the start that you want to see as Lost Box against this deck in particular. So the Squawkabilly does have a 1 retreat cost, so we are going to be able to use the basic Water Energy to retreat. Would have preferred to discard that with an Inteleon VMAX in order to do this, but unfortunately it does look like we are going to be losing a Rapid Strike Energy as well here. We've already discarded an Inteleon VMAX on turn 1 with our other research as well. We do have 2 Water Energies in hand. We have a Melanie. I don't think there's any Water Energies in the discard pile though, but we did get the Forest Sealstone, so we are going to be able to use its ability to search our deck for any 1 card. We could get the Octillery and then use the Octillery to get one of our VMAXs potentially. Yep, looks like we may have searched for the Octillery. So this Octillery going to be giving us equal value every single turn of the game. Looks like we were going to go for the Urshifu VMAX. If we go for the Gmax Rapid Flow here, we will be able to take 2 prize cards, knocking out both of the Comfeys our opponent has. But actually, we are a 1 energy short. We did have to attach the energy for turn 2, the Squawkabilly. So we're not able to attach another energy. We do need 3 energies on that in order to take that knockout, or do that attack rather. So going for the more conservative play with the first impression reminiscent attack. I don't remember what it's called. So it just hits for 150 on the active, does take a prize card. I don't believe that that's the Radiant Alakazam. The next prize card I do believe is... but again, your opponent did not get the exact start that they wanted. And the Octillery does have 110 HP now, so it will be able to live a Greninja. So this is not looking as good for the Lost Box, even though they are able to get multiple cards in the Lost Zone this turn. Looks like we are going to be able to replace the Stadium, so we no longer have Free Retreat on the Rapid Strike side. We're going to be able to use our Artisan, look through our deck for a basic Pokemon to put down, and we fail it. That is a little surprising. Maybe he wants to make sure he doesn't have that many Pokemon in order for the Inteleons to take multiple prize cards, but I don't think he prized that many Pokemon. I think he still has at least 1 Comfey in the deck. He almost took it out off of that Battle VIP Pass in the previous turn, so maybe just deciding not to go for it. Doesn't want the damage to be put into play, but I don't know. I think no matter how many Pokemon you put in play, they're still in danger of being attacked. Again, you did see a Rapid Strike energy go to the discard pile, so if this one goes down off this Urshifu, that might be the only Gmax Rapid Flow you see this game. And you need to still have one of those in order to devote to your Medicham as well. It looks like we do go for the water energy onto the Urshifu VMAX, so we may be eyeing up that G-Max Rapid Flow this turn. See, we have escape rope and energy retrieval. I don't think we need that because I think we do have multiple water energies in hand. So we can use our ability here. You could go for a second VMAX. I think he already got the one, right? So he does go for the second VMAX here. So now we'll have both of those abilities. The only thing that we are missing is the Radiant Alakazam. But again, as soon as we take a prize card here, oh, and we don't want to go for the... Yeah, we definitely don't want to go for the G-Max Rapid Flow because our opponent does have the Manaphy. We would only be getting one prize off of it. So this is a really awful spot to be in. You could use the first attack for only 30 because you're not coming into the active this turn. The stadium was replaced. So it would have been better to maybe get the stadium and just retreat into maybe the Squawkabilly and let it take a hit. But then that's not a Rapid Strike Pokemon, so I don't really know what the play is here. Already devoted our attach for turn to the Urshifu. We do get the stadium. Okay, so now that we've gotten the stadium, now we can switch back into the Urshifu and we can take the knockout because the first attack is now able to hit for 150 again because it gets the bonus 120 from coming to the active spot this turn. So very well played. Had the stadium, had the escape rope, and even gets rid of the Manaphy even more easily because it was fed to them. The opponent, of course, having to keep all of those other Pokemon in play. They are much more important to him at this point. Ooh, and we love to see that Dragon's Vault, I believe is the set it was. Super Rod there, looking a little extra hollow with that border on there. I really like that. It looks so good in Japanese. Using another Colress's Experiment, gonna also another couple cards, put a few cards in hand. We're starting to stack up a lot of cards in hand. We got a couple Mirage Gates available to us too, it looks like. But again, the Greninja not really going to be getting us that far in this matchup. The Inteleons have already evolved. The last game, an Inteleon was hit by a Cramorant and then finished off with the Greninja. And that is not going to be the case this game. It's not going to happen this game. Since they are already evolved to the VMAX, they have like 320 HP or something like that. They are pretty tanky. Which is funny, because they're a very small Pokemon. Even when they Gigantamax, if you guys don't know the video game, there's Dynamax and Gigantamax. Dynamax is just Pokemon gets big. Gigantamax is Pokemon get big, but also changes how it looks. And gets like special attack instead of generic attack. So this, there's two different Inteleon, there's the Dynamax and the Gigantamax. So they've printed a card for both of those, I do believe. There's a Dynamax one, and this is the Gigantamax one. But it's odd. The Dynamax one, he gets really big. But the Gigantamax one, he gets, like, a little bit bigger. But his tail turns into, like, this giant tornado that he uses as a sniper spot. And he just sits at top of it with his giant sniper rifle and just shoots people in the head. Like, he doesn't actually get that big. It's just, like, his tail does. So the card, like, makes it look like he's big, but he's a small boy. He's quite literally just like... He's quite literally like those kids on Call of Duty that you hate, that are just, like, camping. So, we are using those Inteleon abilities. We are discarding our water energies to put some damage counters down onto the bench. We've got 50 on each one of those Comfey now. Those are both one ability away from being knocked out. What we could do is, if we have the next Rapid Strike energy, we could retreat into the Medicham, take the knockout on the bench, and then take an additional turn, and then knock out the next bench one with another Inteleon. But nope, we are going to go for our Radiant Alakazam now. We are going to move damage counters to the other Comfey in order to take a knockout here. Now what we can do is we can G-Max Rapid Flow, knock out the Sableye as well as the Cramorant, and then be left with one prize card remaining, and our opponent will not be able to win the game. The only thing is here is we still need one more Rapid Strike energy just to guarantee the game. We would be able to win off of just attacking with either the G-Max or the Urshifu VMAX or the Inteleon VMAX, either way. If we did have the energy available to us already, I think it would have been more correct to go for the Medicham play to take the additional turn. Because then we would have another turn to use those abilities again, and then we could G-Max Rapid Flow after that, and we would have been able to win the game all in one shot. And it looks like we're doing a bit of an interesting play, so you would think that it would not be correct to knock out the Comfey because it already has damage counters on it. You could potentially finish those off with the Inteleons. I want to say the Inteleon can only hit the bench, so if it does come active, that might not actually work out very well. But we're going to force the Cramorant active. It's going to make it so this person is not able to get any more cards off the top of their deck with the Comfey or from the Lost Zone either. And yeah, this player on the left with the Lost Box still trying to formulate some sort of game plan, find the path to victory if there even is one. And he puts down the Kyogre, and I do agree, the only path to victory for him right now is the Kyogre, but he would have to take 5 prizes with it. He can only hit 2 Pokemon. So I'm not quite sure if that's going to be able to do it or not. He's even super rotting Pokemon back into the deck. Yeah, so the Kyogre mills 5 cards and does 50 damage for each one. And 5 times 5 is 25. So you can hit 250 damage at most to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. You could knock out the active as well as... Well, is it only bench Pokemon, or is it any Pokemon? Because you could knock out the active and the Squawkabilly pretty easily, actually. Let me look at the Kyogre. I've never actually played with the cards, so... Kyogre, TCG. Yeah, if you could do it to the active, that's busted. Bench Pokemon only, yeah. Legitimately only bench Pokemon. So you could... boss up one of your opponent's Pokemon, do the Kyogre, knock out the Urshifu and Squawkabilly, or the Urshifu and the Medicham, and take 5 prize cards and win the game. Also, it looks like they took their prize cards out of order, which is always fishy to see. He did use the... Was this game the one where he used the Heavy Ball? But either way, his prize cards still would have been shuffled, so the only reason you would take prize cards out of order is if you know which one is which because of a certain amount of warping. But yeah, I don't think that this guy can thin his deck enough, and he's already used Roxanne, so he can't use Boss's Orders here. He was able to knock out the... he was able to use the Lost Mine to knock out the Octillery. So he is just hoping that his opponent is not able to find a Rapid Strike energy, but of course has it already in hand, retreats, attacks, and that is the game. Man, that was good. But yeah, I guess that's really what he had to go for. The likelihood of getting the Kyogre playoff was just so rough, because what you want to do with Lost Box is you want to basically deck yourself out and then Energy Recycler 5 energy back into the deck. So you attach Return and Mirage Gate to the Kyogre after your and then you like mill yourself out and then Energy Recycler 5 energy back into the deck, and then you can hit 250 to tier your opponent's Pokemon. And you would have also needed Boss's Orders with that as well, and his deck still had like 20 cards or 15 cards left, and none of those were energies in there, so I don't even think he had like the Energy Recycler play or anything available to him. So Did what he could, but what he could was nowhere near enough. So hope you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe to feed that YouTube algorithm. It's really important, and we will see you guys next time. The heck is that noise? It sounds like somebody's running a power drill through my pipes. Swear to God.